ESPN 690 with Brent Martineau and Austen Lane.
Yeah, here he was with Cody Rhodes last night, AEW.
Shaq, I was impressed.
I told you,
Oh,
never
my
challenge me to a fight.
I gotta
Come
hurt.
in a fight.
Shaq, I told you that I was very impressed. You were awesome.
Well, you was throwing him around like ragdoll.
How about this right here, though?
It's all real,
Oh,
America.
my goodness.
It's all real, America.
Hey, what's this? What's that little move?
Well, I just had to, tap him, make sure he was okay.
Oh, okay. All right.
Why
was
you
fine.
knocked out? Were you knocked out?
Wow.
I was fine.
Yeah.
Shaquille O'Neal making his AEW wrestling debut this past Wednesday on Dynamite. Kuz, you know how I felt about it, man. I thought it was awesome. I was skeptical, all right? I was one of the skeptics. Can Shaq pull it off? I think he absolutely did. Big weekend AEW Revolution this Sunday. And we're joined now by a man that just took on Shaq in the ring. First time in AEW, that took those slaps that almost busted my speakers, per se. We are joined right now. We're glad to be joined by him. In Executive Vice AEW President, wrestler himself, Mr. Cody Rhodes. Cody, how we doing today, man?
I'm doing. I think I'm doing better than Shaq after I sent him through those two tables. But I'm doing really good. I love being in Jacksonville on these longer loops with the Dynamite and then going to the Revolution pay-per-view, and it's a good feeling down here.
Well, and Cody, you mentioned it was Shaq. I was skeptical because I feel like sometimes in professional wrestling you run the risk of kind of losing that hardcore audience a little bit because it can be gimmicky. And that Shaquille O'Neal match was anything but gimmicky. I thought it was a great showcase of his talents. I thought that it showcased Jade Cargill very well in Red Velvet. I mean, that was overall, I think, the perfect match for Shaq. My question to you, though, how did those slaps feel? Because they literally almost burst my speakers in my house, man, with surround sound.
You get those big hands and those overhead chops. The only comparison I would have is Paul Wight, formerly the Big Show, or even the Great Khali. But I've never seen hands like Shaq's, and if I was, I think maybe I might have been planning on taking a few more, and then after I felt that first one, absolutely not. That's this most pain I've ever felt on a chop, to the point where if you lower your chin enough on anything like a chop and you get touched by those fingers, it can knock you right out. So I was lucky. I survived. I still do have a handprint, though, and it's got a little itch to it. But, yeah, so I've got a battle wound from the big man.
Cody, obviously with Shaq, being essentially transported in the ambulance, and then assumingly he just gets up and walks out and is nowhere to be seen, it obviously leaves it open-ended. And do you think Shaq is a guy that wants to step back in the ring? Would you like to face him again? Do you think that he's good for the business and kind of the cross promotion?
Oh, absolutely. And I know people were plenty skeptical, and I understand why. I'm part of the hardcore audience myself. I love pure wrestling as it is, but I love doing things that have a hook to them and have a sizzle to them to help drive to the pure wrestling. The same show that Shaquille O'Neal was on was a show featuring Tully Blanchard. And I'm always surprised when people doubt me. I don't mean to sound braggadocious, but I don't go into anything without a game plan, without being extremely organized. And I assumed a lot of responsibility with a completely new talent in Jade, a pretty untested talent in Red Velvet, and then Shaq, who's not a wrestler. But I'll say after it was over, I can tell you he's got the bug. And that's what it happens. I've seen it happen to older wrestlers. I've seen it happen to people coming for the first time. Stephen Amell, very similar situation. He's got the bug. To me, the one thing I did tell him, we didn't converse much, but I said, I think you're a wrestler now. And I really mean that. I'd love to have him back. There's obviously matches that people want to see. He takes the training very seriously. And that's all good for us to, Shaq brings different eyes to our product, and perhaps those eyes stay and see some of the pure wrestling that our hardcore audience and that our owner and founder, Tony Khan, loves so much himself.
Cody, I have to ask you this, because I'm a former Jaguars player. I know Tony Khan pretty well, but and I know the people behind the scenes at AEW, and they all say the same thing about what you guys are doing right now. It's the fact that everybody in that business seems to be happy. Right. And sometimes, especially in professional wrestling, that can be hard to come by. You always hear the rumors that so-and-so's not happy with this or this, but like you get the sense that you guys are like one big family. And I know you use that adjective a lot in describing AEW, but what is it that it seems like everyone's on the same page, everyone's getting along? What do you attribute to that at AEW?
Well, I think the reason that there's a lack of the term we use in the business is boo-boo face. You know, these individuals walking around who are miserable and don't like what their creative is or don't like even the fact that they traveled. We've got, I mean, almost non-existent, such a low percentage of that. And we do have this team environment. And I've been in a myriad of locker rooms since I was a little kid. I've never felt a team environment like this before. And I think what drives us and what bonds us is twofold. The fact that we're doing something, we're competing with a juggernaut in the industry that's been doing this for 40 years. We're this startup that could, and that really bonds us in a way that it is truly one team, where I've not seen that in wrestling. And then in addition to that, it's a very transparent company. I'm really quick to say, you know, I don't like that. And hey, I like this. There's no stabbing in the back. If anything, it's wrestling. You might as well stab each other in the front. And there's a real honor to this place. And I'm at, you know, so lucky to be at the highest level here and part of management, coming in on the, you know, at the very bottom floor and helping build this with Tony and the other EVPs and all the great personnel we have. But that looming monster over our shoulder that is, you know, our competitor in the space makes us just work so much harder. And that's why our content's the best wrestling content on TV, bar none.
Talking to AEW's Cody Rhodes, and Cody, you mentioned it, the competition. And, you know, there's rumors circulating right now, and I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask you the question. I understand you're a wrestler, but you're also a businessman. And your competitor right now, every Wednesday, is rumored to be going maybe to Tuesday or another time slot. How do you feel about that? Like, do you feel like you'd rather go to war with the other brands, or do you just want to have Wednesday by yourself to showcase what you guys truly do?
That's a great question. I think my answer changes a lot. There was a fun nature to the Wednesday Night War that plenty of people took very seriously. But if we're being honest, and again, not trying to sound braggadocious, this is just a run through. I mean, we have destroyed them for over a year now in that space, and them leaving, perhaps that opens up a different viewership for us on Wednesdays. But we're not reactionary to their booking. We're not going to change anything we do with what they decide to do on Wednesdays or not. And also, there's a lot of smart people who work for WWE, and perhaps they're planning something else. Maybe it's going to be Wednesday Night Raw, for all I know. I'm not assuming that their white flag on moving to Tuesday nights is a true white flag. I'm going to kind of wait and see myself. And in the interim, all we're going to do is continue to come up with good content, great stories, and try to make new kings and queens on our roster. You'd be surprised if you're ever backstage at AEW. No one's talking about our competition as far as how it affects our job that night. We're talking about how much we love or are excited to do what we're about to do, and that won't change.
Cody, got a few more questions for you, man. Then we're going to let you go. We appreciate your time. You mentioned Paul Wight, and obviously it's a huge signing. I think he even got lost a little bit with the Shaq news that he's wrestling, but Paul Wight is a major get. And I love the fact that he's going to be doing commentary. I think he's going to kill it. I can't wait to see what he's got planned going forward. With that being said, you know, I'm reminded of when you and him had your WrestleMania debut, you know, like your match. And, you know, it seemed like he's helped you out a lot, you know, and you're the executive vice president of AEW. like, did it almost come full circle? Did it seem like a little bit where, I guess the question is, how much were you on the inside of those dealings with Paul Wight? Like, did you kind of coax him to come on over to AEW? Did he already want to? And what did it mean to sign him to the brand?
I'm typically one of the first people that people reach out to because we shared locker rooms together, and if they're curious, and I'm never afraid to just chat with somebody and see where they're at mentally. With him, that's one of the main giveaways. I know how motivated he is because there wasn't really much negotiation. He talked to me, and then he moved on to talking to Tony Khan, and they were quite a match. And his benefits that he provides to the locker room are endless, essentially. And that lack of negotiation tells me he's very hungry and he wants to be part of this, and he wants to be part of this now, almost if it's an emotional decision. And full circle is a great way to put it because, people who followed my career will know that I was not happy with what happened with my rivalry with Big Show and where it led to at a WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Creatively, it's actually the beginning of my downfall at the company. But the part they didn't see was the 3 to 4 months where I was basically married to this giant on these live events. And there's only a few people I ever learned as much from. It was so valuable to me. And then I see him already talking to guys backstage, and I can see his sincerity and know like they're going to learn so much from Paul. And I really can't wait to see him go because the attraction that is that man and that giant and his athletic ability, it truly is an attraction. It's a head turner, and I can't wait to see him in an AEW ring and in front of our fans. I know he'll feel it like he's never felt it before.
And speaking of Paul Wight, and once again, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask the question. I don't expect you to break any news right now on our show, but he did mention there's going to be a big signing, right? It's been the talk of Twitter. There's been conspiracy theories. There's videos all over online. Only question to you. Are you in on this? Do you know what's about to happen right now? And I guess what are your thoughts about it? Obviously not sharing who it's going to be.
I'm really confident. I always try to appear confident in front of the locker room and things of that nature. But I will say I'm newly in on it.
Okay.
This was something that Tony had kept close to the chest, which when you're the executive vice president scares the hell out of you. And and that's okay. I know why he kept it close to the chest. He loves to see us surprised, and this is a great surprise. I don't want to by no means spoil it, but I'll say it's somebody that was very helpful to me and very helpful to many who surrounded me. Beloved in locker rooms the world over. And I don't think he's the only surprise on Sunday at Revolution. I think there's multiple surprises. So I'm glad I'm in on everything now. I can act like I know what the hell's going on. But, yeah, Tony keeps making moves. Tony loves AEW. He loves Jacksonville, which is why, as you guys know, we're in Daly's place until Tony says we're going to move. And I think he loves the fact that this kind of Florida territory is a byproduct of the pandemic, and he's going to provide something great on Sunday.
Talking to AEW's Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes, 2 more quick questions for you, man, then we're going to let you go. Real quick, you mentioned it. AEW Revolution. You're taking part in the Face of the Revolution ladder match. Talk about the mindset that you go through, because every match is different, but you can expect when it's going to be a ladder match versus some fierce competitors, you can expect that you kind of have to go to a place that you're not accustomed to going sometimes. And the bumps and the spots can be very high risk and reward, especially in a ladder match. Do you prepare differently knowing a ladder match is coming up from a traditional match?
I think the only way you can prepare a little bit differently for ladder matches, you have to be prepared to pick those ladders up, and you have to be prepared to be hit with or put on those ladders, because they're like your first time with chairs and tables. You think there's something, and then you pick them up, and my gosh, they're heavy. And I had this match is completely, I consider myself the face of the Revolution, and I've considered that since All In. I've been so lucky to have fans support me in that effort and wanting to do the work and keep it going. But I'll say this match is not a match that's good for me. I don't know how many Money in the Banks I lost. It felt like 50. It means something about climbing and this time it's a literal brass ring. Something about that just hasn't behooved me in the past. But of the guys I'm in there with, there's one being unknown. I feel like my experience in this case will actually help me considerably secure the brass ring and then move on to face Darby for the TNT Championship and go for the third TNT title run.
I like it. Last question, and obviously congratulations in order. Congratulations on, the announcement of you're going to become a father. That's fantastic news, man. Take it from a father himself. It's the best job you're ever going to have. Obviously, wrestling is big in your family, and you've grown up around it. Do you plan on, bringing your daughter around it as well? I mean, is she going to be there for the journey, or are you going to kind of let her find her own way with professional wrestling?
Somebody asked the best question the other day. It's very similar to what you just asked about, because I've always said I was going to retire at 40, and they said, well, don't you want her to see what you do?
Yeah.
And now, as I think about that, I'm like, you choked up thinking about it. I really do, and I don't want them to have to look back. So I will definitely bring them around the industry. I've always been very proud of the industry. It's one of those, where you can't fight who you are. And I'm a wrestler, and that's, Go Big Show on Thursday, and the new stuff that's happening in my career is all thanks to wrestling. So I'll bring them around it, and that's the problem. When you bring kids around it and they see that job, they're not going to want to do anything else. And women's wrestling has become it's really just sunk its way into everyone's heart as of late, and it will continue to do so. So perhaps, and her mom will be the same way. We're proud of what we do, so I'd love to have her around and see and make her own call on what she wants to be.
AEW Revolution this Sunday. Cody, we appreciate you coming on the show, taking some time for us. Best of luck this Sunday, man.
Thank you so much, buddy.
All right.